There's something quietly seductive about personality frameworks. You take a test, get a result, and suddenly there's a word or a type or a number that seems to explain years of your own behavior in a single afternoon. It feels like clarity, and honestly, sometimes it is. But here's where it gets interesting. The most useful thing a personality framework can do isn't tell you who you are. It's give you language for patterns you've already been living, patterns you couldn't quite name before. That's a genuinely useful thing. It creates a kind of humility, because once you start seeing your own recurring tendencies clearly, you also start noticing that other people aren't wrong or difficult or irrational. They're just organized differently. That shift alone is worth something. Not all frameworks do this equally well, though. The Big Five model, which looks at traits like openness, conscientiousness, and emotional stability, tends to hold up better than most because it describes you along a spectrum rather than sorting you into a box. Research backs it up too, linking these traits to things like well-being, sociability, and self-regulation. That makes it more grounded than pop psychology systems that can, if you're not careful, tip into identity theater, where the label stops being a tool and starts being a costume. Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram and similar models aren't without value, but they work best when you treat them as conversation starters rather than verdicts. The moment a framework becomes something you perform, it stopped helping you. What a good framework should actually do is show you where your strengths shade into overreliance. High conscientiousness can look like discipline, and it often is, but it can also quietly become a need for control. High openness can fuel creativity, but it can also keep you restless and half-finished. The point isn't to flatten yourself into the right type or optimize yourself into some ideal configuration. It's to see the recurring shape of your energy so you can learn to steer it rather than just be carried by it. That same awareness changes how you move through relationships too. Instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" which is really a question loaded with judgment, you can start asking something more practical. What conditions actually bring out my best? What tends to pull me away from it? Those questions are more useful because they turn self-knowledge into something you can act on rather than just something you reflect on. Personality frameworks at their best are maps, and like any map, they're not the territory. They leave things out, they simplify, but used with a light hand, they help you navigate yourself and the people around you with a bit more grace than you'd manage otherwise.